All right, thank you. It's great to see everyone out here tonight. This is actually our first public speaking of CRIA, so it's very good to see such a large audience for our first event. The Cultural Research Institute of Acadiana, CRIA, which in French is to cry out, was started 2007, so it's been around about 2 years, but of course the first year or two have been spent just getting everything together, making us a nonprofit organization, trying to get organized so that we could be ready to take our task at hand. CRIA was inspired in part by a trip I took about 10 years ago down to Lydia, Louisiana. On the way to Super Bowl Point, we were going to Million Dollar Beach, Million Dollar Beach on Shark Bayou and all that. And we stopped. They had a little house on the side of the road in Lydia, and it had a sign that read "Homegrown" out front. So we stopped, my uncle and I, and it was a little lady, and she welcomed us into her greenhouse, and she sold us heirloom seedlings for 25 cents a piece in little coffee cups. And, I just thought, how cool is that this lady has been keeping her seeds, for who knows how long, and is selling them for 25 cents out of used coffee cups. I mean, it's just the whole thing. It's all about, for them it's about sustaining themselves and helping ourselves to sustain ourselves. And that's, the main objective of CRIA is to collect information, knowledge, and seeds, which I'll talk about, in order to teach how to live sustainably here in South Louisiana, because our culture is so rich and full of all this information of how people did it when it was necessary. And today, of course, it's not necessary to live sustainably, but it is still very important. And as we're seeing, especially this year, it's become more and more important and maybe more necessary. And another thing that did it for me was following, we have our camp on Bayou Vermilion in Milton, and a man that lived next to our camp was Mr. Sidney Bork. And Sidney, he died about, I guess, 15 years ago, and I used to go follow him around when I was just a little 5-year-old or something, and I'd go follow him around his farm, and he had everything you could think of, every kind of animal, every kind of crop, and he didn't speak a word of English. And we met his daughter more recently, just in the last 5 years, and she told us, how he didn't really even have a name, never borrowed money, probably didn't have a, so he basically lived out on his own completely and was fully self-sustaining, and he is maybe the last of many that have done that, and there's definitely still some around, but we want to try and reach all these people that have this knowledge and who know how to live like this before they're gone. Our first program that we're focused on for CRIA is the Acadiana Seed Bank, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. Of course, CRIA is an umbrella, and as the palmetto has many fronds, we have all sorts of knowledge and different areas that can be studied and researched, such as sustainable building and agriculture and language and music, which have both had so much research done. We don't think we need to focus on that, but it'll definitely be a part. And, and traiteurs and medicine and all the folklore of South Louisiana. And the Acadiana Seed Bank is, is basically a bank of heirloom, open-pollinated seeds that we are collecting from people that have been keeping these strains of seeds going for, different years, at least 5 years, but some of them 60 to 70 years, and maybe longer. So this is the seeds of our heritage, and in French, I believe it would be le grand héritage. That's what one person told me for heirloom seeds in French. And this is one tangible and very important piece of our history that we want to focus on. So that's why it's our first program. Cultures like ourselves, Cajun, Creole, South Louisiana, whatever, all the different types of people and culture that make us here in South Louisiana what we are, can't be sustained without sustainability, as in agriculture, as in lifestyle, because once we become dependent on outside sources, that decreases our chances of sustaining our own culture. So to sustain our own culture, one thing that we have to look into is our agriculture. And that's, part of our whole base is being connected to the land, to the seasons, to the moon cycles, as Ray Brasser was just telling me. How a lot of elder generations, lived by the moon, lived by the seasons without an education, and they did it very well, even though a lot of them didn't have another choice. But, to sustain our culture, CRIA, we're going to try to make we have a small start of our seed bank. I'll be telling y'all about that. But we're also going to have a online sustainable living database called La Récolte, which means the harvest in French. And this will be a collection of all the information that we've obtained from our seed donors and knowledge donors, which goes beyond just agriculture, but we'll go into architecture and all the other things I mentioned before. This is a house that Mr. J.D. Swallow of Lance Bleu, of Point Bleu, he had moved out to his house because his neighbor or whoever it was gonna burn it because he was finished with it. He said, "No, you don't have to burn it. I'll take it." It's a full bousillage, in and out house, and he took Ashley and I through it. It's an amazing old house, but that's his little part to sustain that, and it's just a model that we can use to see, how people built like this, how people live like this, and as you can see, it's an exposed bousillage front. And it's got gardens all around it, so it's kind of a little model house. But the sustainability of it is what's as important. The walls are made out of earth and moss themselves, and when they ran out of moss, they used rice. What you call it? Not hulls, straw. Thank you. And so. The agricultural knowledge of the people of South Louisiana has been something that's been passed on from generation to generation and from neighbors to friends. This was our first seed interview, and this was in January of this year. This is Miss Florella Vijay Inhern, and she's a native of Opelousas, and she's actually, if anyone knows about the Orphan Train Society, she was descendant of the orphans who came down from New York, but that's not important on this subject. But this is her freezer full of her seeds that she's been collecting and has inherited from her mom. And so she was gracious to take us in and show us everything that she has learned in her long life. She's actually stopped gardening, but she only stopped a couple years ago, and she happened to have a freezer full of seeds, which we stumbled on accidentally after already starting the Acadiana Seed Bank. And so she is, in our first interview, we collected longhorn okra that she got from her mom, rattlesnake pole beans, coton jaune, which is yellow cotton or brown cotton, coton blanc, white cotton, and mamou seeds, of course. And just so y'all know, when you're way out, we have a couple of the seeds here on display you can look at with our brochures.